Yeah.
Vertical can be a lot of different things. Vertical can be two balls that are completed at 25 to 30 yards.
Right.
Vertical can be seam routes looking off the safety.
Yeah.
So those still give you, and that's and that's the mindset of then saying, okay, we're still going to be able to attack people downfield because we have to, and we should, and it's what we believe in, and it's what Coach Dillingham believes in. But how are we going to do it? May it look a little different than other teams who might do it with long play action, turn your back to the defense, and take the home run shot. It just might be just good look a little different.
And what do you think about what you've seen from your quarterback's ability to connect on those in the way that you want within your scheme?
I think again, it's been improving mightily, both through spring ball and even through the limited time we've had him. So we've got steps to go.
Yeah.
But the gains we've made since we were first installing some of these thoughts, some of these ideas I'm very excited about.
What things kind of stand out the most to you about Drew after working with him through the spring and summer?
Drew's, one of his biggest qualities, I believe, is his ability to react to things post snap, and he's got a very quick arm. And I think people sometimes they talk about arm strength, and that's important, don't get me wrong, but it's as much as anything, it's arm speed. So whenever someone says a quick release, a lot of people's releases are the same length, but it's that speed of that time.
Yeah.
Like Aaron Rodgers is elite arm speed from the time he wants to throw. It might be just as long of a semicircle as other guys, but so that's where I think one of Drew's biggest strengths is, in my opinion, when he has a reaction or a set and a reset to something, he can do it at a high level, and he can make a lot of those throws. And there are a lot of the same throws we're talking about that fit within our system, so those are, I get excited about that and I get excited about the fact you're talking about those two guys that played some college football at a high level, and Drew won a lot of games, as a starter. Obviously Trenton was 70+% as a starter, so it's exciting to be working with those two guys, and they're both awesome to coach.
Like coming from your background, you've seen a lot of guys like a Cam Scadabo, Xavier Guillory, them specifically, the talent at that level. How do you feel like that sort of projects to the Pac-12, and also, are they probably, not getting the type of attention that they might warrant or deserve, just given how good they were but at a level that people didn't pay nearly as much attention to nationally?
Well, I don't really know if they're not getting attention now. I feel like some people are, So I think both of them would tell you they have to earn things at every level, just like we all do. So, but to sit here and if you're asking me what I thought about them as players, both, and I was up against them in live in person, they can play any level, and that's a lot of times the case with that. And that's not a knock on anything. That's nothing. That's just the fact that recruiting's not a science. How guys develop between 18, 19, and 20, it's not a science. You don't always know. So it's a lot of times, the comment will always be made, how did they let so-and-so slip or this or that? Well, when he was 16 or 17, no one could have seen that. Just different guys develop late, and that's just sometimes how it goes. But as far as how they're football players, they're really good football players. And they have to earn it, though. They have to come in here and compete. And the game is obviously at this level. I mean, every part of it's just a little bit bigger, a little bit faster, a little bit stronger. But at the end of the day, that's the least of my concern. Appreciate you. Yeah, no problem.
I'm Nick. Sorry,
Hey,
I
Nick.
got down late.
All good.
You were in the middle of answering a question, I think, about taking deep shots and being lethal downfield. And I found it interesting just by talking to different players and Coach Dillingham. They bring up the stat from Patrick Mahomes last year and how the majority of their touchdowns were shorter than 5 yards.
Yeah.
What's your take on that, and how's that, I guess, thought going to kind of look in your offense when it comes to being versatile in different length passes, if you will?
Yeah, well, I think the reason, too, a guy like Pat Mahomes and they are able to put up that stat is because they're still a threat deep. And that's what you have to be. You have to be a threat deep to be able to to be able to then throw a lot of those underneath passes because they're threatened by it. So again, a lot of what we still have to build things off the ability to push it vertical when it presents itself and push it vertical to be able to soften what they're doing. But then at the end of the day, if we're moving the ball and we're having success and moving it down the field and the quarterback's getting it out of his hand quick and getting it into athletes in space, I don't care how far the throw is. I don't care if we go through an entire game and don't ever throw them. But the reality is, if you're not able to do that, then you don't set up those same things that are working. It only works underneath when you've got some threats over the top. Otherwise, the team will just suffocate your underneath stuff because they're not afraid of it.
So have you guys as an offense kind of pointed to an identity yet? I know it's no pads yet, so it's hard to tell, but in years past this was a very run-first offense and then play action off that. Do you guys have an identity yet? You think this is going to be an athletic team? The word that tossed around today has been versatile. So a little bit of everything. I was wondering if this offense is going to win first in the trenches, go from there. We're very athletic on the outside. Just wondering if you guys have anything you're pointing to.
Yeah, I've never been a big. Even during all my years at Eastern, people ask me, and I would use the comment. One of the two words I would use. Yeah, we're very versatile. We're very multiple. We definitely have elements of pro style even within up-tempo spread, change of speed. So I don't mean to not give you a dead set, this is what we are, but the reality is we are very versatile. We're going to do what it takes to move the ball in that particular game. In different years it can look a little different. I know during my years, the same offense, same big playbook, we all have plenty of plays. We have too many things we can run. We just got to pare it down to what's going to fit that group that year. And it's not always the same. Bo Nix is different than our quarterbacks here, probably, in terms of what his strengths are and what his weaknesses are. Everyone has strengths and weaknesses, so you want to be able to play to those strengths, with that. So I think you have to be versatile. I think you have to be multiple. We'll have the ability to change speeds, and you'll see that because I think that's better, in my opinion, than going as fast as you can every play.
What's one thing you want to see from this group as the pads are coming on? You want to see improve before week one kicks off?
I think coming off spring, I want to see that their pre-snap alignment is zero thinking. I think there was still a level of translating one language to the other. Because every one of these guys to their, was learned a different or multiple different languages over the last couple of years so they would get something, and then all of a sudden, oh yeah, that was like our old. You can almost see those wheels spinning, kind of like if you went to a foreign country as your second language, oh, that's that in my first language. I want to see them get to a point where they see something that paints that picture, see something that paints that picture, see something that paints, when I say see a signal, or hear a call, it just paints the picture immediately, because what happens then is once that happens, then the thinking comes out of it. So by week one, I want to see all the thinking come out of it, because if you can win pre-snap, defense say the same thing, you have a much better chance post-snap. And that's what I felt like in the spring. We still weren't always winning pre-snap. How am I running this route? Who am I working to? Where am I? Yeah, but once you do, now all of a sudden, and of course, everyone wants to see, I want to continue to see our pad level get down. I want to continue to see this, all those things. But I believe the initial things we're all looking for post-snap only happen when that picture is so clear pre-snap.
So in your experience as a coach, what do you think can accelerate that process as you really start to hone in with the guys in the fall camp? What is it in practice that you think helps them?
Just continuing to do, really encouraging them, first off, pushing them to understand that whatever we do out here is never enough to be great. That makes sense. Whatever you do within your allotted hours, it's never enough to be great. So then what does that mean? It means that I need to get out on my own and get to a point where we're teaching each other, we're walking through, guys, you see that all the time, right? They show film of Drew Brees dropping back through the whole game plan. Do you remember that by himself in the dome? Things like that. Was that part of the schedule? No. That was him doing extra. Because we're still going to hammer out exactly what we do. We're going to do that. And then we have to structure things as coaches to put them in a chance to not overthink pre-snap. to be able to line up quickly, to be able to get there. So that's on us too, to put them in those spots. But then they have to take it and run with it. I mean, you want to do well on a test. We're all taking a test on August 31st, right? We're all taking a test. You can come to the classroom, listen to the lecture, but if you don't go home and study for that test, how well are you really going to do on it? Might do okay. Some guys are more gifted than the others. Most guys got to do extra to then do well on that. And that's kind of always how I try to put things so they can kind of picture what I'm talking about there. And I've just seen that from our guys. They're hungry to do extra on their own, which is allowing them to take steps well past whatever we're just doing within our allotted time.
And then last question for me, is there anyone specific, this might be unfair, you might not have an answer, is there anyone specific that's caught your eye that, might not be, Jalen Conyers or Elijah Badger? Is there anyone that, that's flying under the radar locally that maybe even local reporters that really caught your eye so far?
It's tough because, again, we're so limited in summer, and I've just never been, especially, I like talking about groups. I'm just wired that way to talk about groups, that maybe a group that catch your eye or that. 'Cause I said that at the end of spring ball, there were certain groups, but to say one guy right now, it's tough. It's tough.
Let me rephrase. Do you have a type of player that you like? Is it, someone that's 100% coachable? They might not be the most talented. I know all coaches say that, but, someone that's hard-nosed, that's going to, even as a wide receiver, try to drill their corner back. What's your type of player?
Honestly, the guy that I like is the guy that is truly selfless and truly lives the fact that you have to earn everything. I mean, that's the best way I can say it, and just really takes that he's not just saying it. We're not just putting it on a T-shirt, earn everything and all that, because there are a lot of things that gets put on a banner. But the ones that I see, holy cow, he really believes nothing's owed to him, nothing's given to him, and he really is out here every day to earn it, and out here every day. He's out there every day, like, especially when you get guys that maybe have started a lot of games, yet they have that piece of them that's telling them, I can get benched at any time, almost that. So they're always trying to earn it. So that's the type of guy. Because, again, it's a tough question.
Yeah.
Because I like Jalen Conyers. I like Scatterbo.
Exactly.
They're all different types of players, but they all fit. But I do like players, like I said, that are true to what they're true to themselves, true to who they are, and understand their strengths and weaknesses. Because, again, we all have them, but you understand them, what you need to work on, and ultimately, if you ask me, I like guys who aren't victims and earn everything.
Coach, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I
Appreciate it.
have one more question for you about Camp T. That's coming up, and as you know, it's a big deal. What excites you the most about that experience? Like, what's going to be so important about that for everybody as a team?
I think the thing that excites me the most is you're in one of those situations where I think initially everyone goes, oh man, they hear the stories about sleeping in rough beds and going to the mountains, this and that, but it's going to be, in most of the situations I've been that are somewhat similar, you're going to come out of it 3 days later and go, man, I connected more in those 3 days with a few guys I may never have connected had we not done something like that. I got closer. I built trust, or I felt like there was a bond and some trust, and ultimately, that's what excites me about it, is I think when we come back from that thing, when we're on our way back, you'll feel some things that were built that just sometimes, I hate to say it, but in the day-to-day, it's tougher to build as opposed to going off the grid a little bit and almost forcing it, and you're not, and don't get me wrong, you don't want to fake it, and your day-to-day has to be, but sometimes that gets you over the hump, and now maybe a week or two later, you're eating lunch with someone and having a conversation. Had you not gone to Coach T, maybe you wouldn't have been building on that relationship. That's how I look at it.